Hello and welcome to an India Today special broadcast that comes to you from the strife-torn eastern Ukraine town of Mariupol. I'm Gaurav Sawant, and fierce fighting has been reported in the border belt and not just here in Mariupol, in the Donbass region. Fighting is being reported from several other pockets of Ukraine, including the national capital Kyiv, where Russian aircraft and helicopters have been spotted. Of course, Ukraine's claimed that it's taken down 5 Russian aircraft and 2 Russian helicopters. There has been bombing reported from Odessa. There's bombing that's been reported from the Sea of Azov, the Black Sea. There's also bombing that's being reported in multiple other places, including in Kharkiv, in the eastern part of Ukraine. And this shows there's a multi-pronged offensive that is currently underway from the Russian side. The main task being, one, to take down the adversary, or in this case, Ukraine's air defense systems. Systematically, they've been taken out through the day today. Is that a precursor for ground troops to move in? Are airfields also either being neutralized or taken over? Breaking news coming in, big story coming in. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenksyy has confirmed that a very key airfield in the heart of Kyiv, a key airfield in Kyiv, has been taken over by the Russian forces. India Today is the first channel to get you images and video of at least eight helicopters of the Russian special forces. Mi-8 helicopters. These are medium lift transport helicopters used by the Russian special forces and the Russian army to transport men and material. And we'll show you those images of those helicopters moving in. Special forces took over a very key airfield. Now, this key airfield is not just an airfield. It was a major aircraft manufacturing facility of the Antonov company. Remember, Indian Air Force also uses the AN-32 aircraft. Well, it's the same company that manufactures these aircraft. That airbase has been taken over by the Russians. How did they do that? India Today has accessed those video images shared with India Today by a member of parliament in Ukraine. And this shows that the helicopters, the Russian helicopters, were flying really low. That doesn't indicate that they were trying to evade the adversary's radars, but that was an indication that they perhaps by then had achieved total air dominance, total control of airspace, and they were denying that airspace to the Ukrainian forces. We'll get you much more on this big story. Lots of developments taking place over the course of the next half hour. I will get you all details, but first, let's get you that report about the Russian helicopters. Those Russian helicopters, they landed in Kyiv. The information is that they've taken control of a very key airbase in Ukraine, in Kyiv. What does that indicate? The indication is here in Mariupol, where an airfield, the radar system there was completely destroyed. Certain other airfields were damaged. A major ammunition dump was destroyed. The indication is not only have Russians denied the use of those airfields to Ukraine, they've also taken control. In a way, are they also ensuring that foreign air...
корректировать нашу совместную работу. Я хочу вас поблагодарить за то, что было сделано до сих пор, даже в достаточно сложных условиях. И надеюсь, что мы будем и в новых условиях, хотя они нельзя назвать, что они совсем уж супер новые, но тем не менее на этом этапе работать также солидарно и не менее эффективно.
Reestablish that link in just a moment and get you what the Russian president has been saying. But the attack on Ukraine started early this morning. It started with the bombing of the border areas, expanded to bombing in several key locations. Let me quickly get you that report up first on Russian helicopters moving in and taking control of a key airfield in the heart of Kyiv. What does that result in? That results in denial of a key airbase to the Ukrainian forces. Take a look at this report.
Russia is knocking on the doors of Kyiv, the capital city of Ukraine. On your screen are the images of a stunning air attack by the Russian Air Force on the Kyiv suburb. India Today gets you the hair-raising video of the Russian invasion from 3 angles. The images show plumes of smoke coming out of buildings with 6 Mi-8 choppers flying low over the city, a chilling proof of the breach of Ukrainian airspace by Russian forces. Ukrainian border guards say the Russian troops have entered the northern part of the capital region. They claim Russians have attacked Hostomel airport. Ukraine claims to have shot down 2 Russian helicopters. Ukrainian MP Maria Lonova, who shared the video of the Russian air assault on social media, spoke exclusively to India Today.
Russia helicopters, they're attacking our airport near Kyiv. It's just 10 kilometers from Kyiv. This airport, it is famous because of our great airplane Mriya, dream. So it's the biggest airplane on the world. It's Ukrainian. And of course, now sanctions, they will not save human lives, and that is why now it's time really to help by military weapon to defend our country.
It is an all-out Russian invasion of Ukraine. For Ukrainians, the nightmare is now a living reality. Bureau Report, India Today.
We will get you those details about how it's a living reality, this nightmare that's unfolded for the people of Ukraine. We'll also tell you about the military balance and how those scales are tipped heavily in Russia's favor. Can Ukraine fight on? And if so, for how long? What will the world's reaction be? I will get you all those stories. We'll also get you more ground reports. But first up, I must tell you what happened through the day today. Whether it's the Donbass region where we are in eastern Ukraine, or Kyiv, or Kharkiv in the east, and Kharkiv apparently has seen some very heavy fighting, shelling, and some reports, we still do not know whether that's information warfare or in the fog of war. Realities are still emerging, but the fact, the information that's filtering out seems to indicate that Russian armored personnel carriers crossed the border and came into regions very close to Kharkiv. Remember, Kharkiv is barely 25 kilometers from the border. The place where we are is less than 20 kilometers from where the Russian and Ukrainian forces are virtually in eyeball to eyeball in a standoff situation, and there's trench warfare that is going on. Before I get you all those details, take a look at this report.
Ukrainians woke to a war on their country. At 4:30 a.m., the first of 7 rockets struck a military base on Kyiv's outskirts. Soon, Kharkiv, Lugansk, Mariupol, and Donbass all came under attack. Around the same time, Russian tanks and armored vehicles rolled into Ukraine from occupied Crimea. The invasion had started. Ukraine and the world's worst fears had come true.
We simply don't have any other choice to protect our people, and we'll have to use the only available choice that we will use today. I've taken the decision to conduct a special military operation. Its purpose is to protect people who have been subject to abuse and genocide by the Kyiv regime for 8 years. And to do this, we will strive to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine.
The Ukrainian retaliation was swift. Kyiv claimed it had downed 6 Russian planes, even as Moscow said it destroyed air bases. At Ground Zero, India Today captured the fear and panic in Ukraine.
Images on your television screen now tell you more about the military movement that's taking place towards the battle zone. Now, this is where one convoy after the other. We are on the high street here in Mariupol, and military convoy, one after the other, heading towards the front lines.
So I will also walk a bit and show you the situation near the city, Kyiv City Council. There protection of the building has also been strengthened. You can see the military standing outside the building. And one more thing, so you can see that they are changing the location of their post. Sorry for such strange reporting, but everything is changing every minute.
In eastern Ukraine, fighting raged. Ukraine claimed it had killed at least 50 Russian soldiers. Russia said several Ukrainian villages were under its control. As missiles rained, Ukraine closed the country's airspace. Kyiv International Airport was evacuated and shut down. The capital and other cities began seeing shortage of food and fuel as panic buying started. The Russian President Putin's invasion has been called a barbaric act by world leaders. But with weeks of diplomacy falling flat, it is an uncertain future ahead for Ukrainians. Bureau Report, India Today.
Well, the West may call it a barbaric attack. As far as Russian President Vladimir Putin is concerned, he's very clear. He cannot let Ukraine become the playground of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. That would be detrimental to the security of Russia. I quickly want to cut across to my colleague Rajesh Pawar now joining me for more on the story. Rajesh, you've been walking around and traveling across this region since early this morning when the invasion started. What's the situation report? What's the latest on ground at this point of time?
Look, Gaurav, as you know, you are in the same city here, though I have gone around towards the sea also. What I heard, something which has not been reported in any of the Indian media is 2 civilian ships in the Sea of Azov have been hit by Ukrainian missiles. That's very close to where we are right now, just a few kilometers from here in the Sea of Azov today afternoon. 2 merchant ships of Russia have been hit by Ukrainian missiles. Secondly, about situation in the city, like you're aware, there was some bombardment in the afternoon. There were shells fired, probably RT shells fired from both sides, or from which sides not confirmed as of now. But on the streets, it's complete silence. No movement on the streets. They're all deserted right now. There were a lot of crowd in the supermarkets till 4 hours back, but now even supermarkets are closed because there is shortage of food items and other stuff in the supermarkets. That is the situation here right now. With regards to overall situation in Ukraine, the military situation, what I have come to know is my information is that Russian ground forces have advanced a little bit from Crimea northwards along the Black Sea coast in Ukraine. And what could this indicate is that if Russia decides to move southwards from Donbass and northwards from Crimea, they will be able to cut off Ukraine totally from Black Sea after they capture the important port of Odessa on the Black Sea coast. Gaurav.
And that's a very critical point. Of course, Rajesh, it has been reported about these 2 merchant ships being targeted by Ukrainian missiles, and the damage caused has been reported extensively by Reuters and others through the day today. But let me also now get you more on what's happening on ground. Some of the attacks that have been launched are either deception attacks, some are real attacks, and some is actually the main charge of the Russian forces. And in the national capital in Kyiv, there have been a number of targeted attacks on vital assets and vital points. And these attacks haven't been restricted just to Kyiv. Let me get you more reports on what's happening on ground. The situation on ground is extremely precarious, and this precarious situation is not limited to any one part. Does this indicate that a multi-pronged strategy is being adopted by the Russian forces? Have they wargamed this to the T? It becomes extremely critical from the fact that the manner in which the Russian forces are moving forward is cutting off Odessa, their main coast, to ensure that this very important coast is made available to the Russians, something that they were looking forward to. That's point 1. Point 2, the assault that may happen from the north, where forces are poised to come in. Does that then completely divide the Ukrainian forces? Majority of those forces since 2014 have been battling Russia-backed separatists here in the Donbass region. But will they then be further divided? Rajesh, was this war gained by Ukraine, the manner in which Russia has been targeting the security forces, the assault from the north, the assault from the south, and the assault from the east?
I think Ukraine was very well aware of the situation when the Russians started their military exercise in Belarus, and they knew they are just 90 kilometers away from Kyiv. They could come from north, they could come from east, from Russian territory, or from Donbass, and they could come from south, from the Crimea. And as I mentioned it earlier, it is very vital for Russia to have water supply for Crimea. Crimea doesn't have a water supply of its own. Ukraine has denied that to Russia, and they have to build a pipeline just for water from mainland to Crimean Peninsula. So if this is vital for them, so they would try their best to somehow connect Crimea by land to either Donbass or to mainland Russia. And what we see right now, if these reports are true, that Russian ground troops are moving northwards from Crimea, then it looks like that they intend to come down towards south of Donbass and north from Crimea, so have a link up somewhere near Odessa and capture that important city. Gaurav.
Extremely critical that you point out the way this military offensive is now being undertaken. How soon for the world to react in the manner in which Ukraine expects them to react? What's happening on ground at this point of time? In Kyiv, people are apprehensive. Things are flying off the shelves in supermarkets. The people are rushing to banks to withdraw as much money as they can. Debit cards and credit cards or their equivalent here not being used at all. All transactions are happening only in cash at this point of time. Now, the Second World War bomb shelters, some of them are no longer operational and people are being advised. Incidentally, Ukraine has one of the oldest metro systems and one of the deepest metro systems in the world is in Kyiv. In Europe, at least, is in Kyiv. And people are being advised to rush to the nearest metro station should there be a bombing and use these metro stations, use these undergrounds as a bomb shelter. My colleague Maria with this report.
Hello, it's Maria Pasarenko reporting live from Kyiv, from one of the bomb shelters beneath the residential building in the city center of Kyiv. So I will show you a quick, so to say, bombshell room tour. So you can see it's not in the best condition, but hopefully it is ready to keep people for some time. You can also see the facilities are not too good for staying here for long, but nevertheless, as air alarm was declared in Kyiv, we together with the neighbors gathered in this premises underneath the residential house. So you can see, I will quickly show you what is happening here. So here and there, some food, some stuff, some water also prepared for any case of emergency or something. So we have here places now to sit, to rest for some time. And here are the air filters, which are, I guess, from the Soviet times, are here according to their appearance. So this is the place we're spending now, have been spending several hours. So there is also the facilities, so to say, to sleep if needed. And this is our water for now. There were several alarms, several times sirens were heard in the city center. So we from time to time go again here in the shelter, staying here for some time, then coming out to breathe a little bit and to understand if it's to catch some connection, because there is no connection down here, no internet, no cell connection, no mobile phones working. So this is the situation. So we are lucky because this shelter is one of, so to say, in good conditions. But the only problem was the lock, because we had to remove this lock by force, by cutting it actually and throwing away, because nobody knew where the keys from the bomb shelters in this area are. So here is the situation, so to say, on the ground and beneath the ground. So this you can see also my neighbor standing, and the sign that ukrytya, which means bomb shelter, bunker. So that is all for now. We are staying here, reading news, having quick runs to the surface and trying to understand what to do next. And also one thing is that there is a decent smell of something burnt in the air, and as we've seen the pictures of strikes, we understand that this is the smell of something burnt from these strikes actually. And also we repeatedly are hearing some explosions, far away explosions in the background. We do not understand where they come from, but every time we see the signs of alarm going or approaching, or we see this information online, we go and hide in this shelter. So that's the situation now on the ground. Reporting live from Kyiv, Maria Pasarenko.
That is the fear that's palpable. Maria is just reporting on that fear that's palpable, and that fear is in the air. People, they just wait to hear the sound, the whoosh of a bomb, the thud of a bomb, and before that, they just want to rush to the nearest bomb shelter and stay there and stay safe. Now, the only apprehension is these bomb shelters. It's really cold. It's almost 0 degrees at night. It's sub-zero early morning. It's barely 2 to 5 degrees during the day. It's extremely windy, so it's cold. In those bomb shelters, there is no electricity. Often water is a problem, and as you'll see in our next report, water has been a problem. Water has been flying off the shelves rather quickly through the day today, because people in panic are stocking up on everything: food, water, milk, essentials, everything they're stocking up, including cash. But what did Ukraine actually wake up to? At the crack of dawn, instead of sunlight, they saw bombs falling all around. We bring you this ground report.
The dawn of Thursday in Kyiv was not a promising one. In the capital city of Ukraine, people woke up to the sounds of sirens. Nearly 850 kilometers away from the capital city in Luhansk, near the line of control in eastern Ukraine, long queues outside banks was the commonplace scenario this Thursday morning. The same was the case in Mariupol, in Donetsk region.
We have to leave our houses. What is going on?
Ukraine is under martial law.
Martial law? There will be panic. Where would I hide the children? There are no shelters. There are nothing. It's an open space. Where will I go? I'm alone at work. Where will I run?
More than 10 hours drive away from Mariupol in Kyiv, there were long lines of traffic on the road.
A lot of military actually going here in the street. This is like the local defense unit, and a lot of police, and also National Guard. This is the metro station, central metro station, Kyiv station, which was supposed to be used as a bomb shelter, but no need to use it for now.
Despite repeated calls by the Indian government, some Indian students are still stuck in Ukraine in the middle of this conflict.
Yes, you can see, we are standing in the queue from last 1 hour, maybe more. Yes. Already so much. We are even can't find the bread or something. That is keeping the food and water for 2 or 3 days, because our neighbors also said, keep the food, water, everything ready, maybe there will be blackout in the night.
Close to 500 kilometers from the capital city, smoke was seen over Kharkiv city and sounds of explosions were reported, much like what happened before dawn in Kyiv. Instagram users shared videos of shelling in Ukraine on Thursday after Russian troops launched their anticipated attack. It's a war in Ukraine.
It's war, and it's likely to get worse in the hours and days ahead. That is the apprehension. Where we are in Mariupol, the apprehension is that Russian tanks and troops could well be rolling down these streets in days ahead. Now, globally, there is condemnation coming Russia's way. Of course, Russian President Vladimir Putin said he was left with no alternative but to take this action. But it's been called a barbaric act by the West. They're saying that this is an invasion that was ordered by a dictator. It's also being said that there will be stricter sanctions against Russia in the days and weeks ahead. The question that some analysts are asking, hasn't Russia wargamed this already? And does this not show that should a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council decide to do something like this, there is little the world can do except just condemn it.
War has been declared. Ukraine has been invaded by Russia. It's been building up to this moment for months, and America's efforts, along with its allies to block Putin, have quite literally gone up in smoke. Russian President Putin shot off a stern message to the world while confirming his invasion plans.
I've taken the decision to conduct a special military operation. Its purpose is to protect people who have been subject to abuse and genocide by the Kyiv regime for 8 years. And to do this, we will strive to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine, and also bring to justice those who have committed numerous bloody crimes against civilians, including citizens of the Russian Federation.
The White House immediately issued a statement condemning Russia's move, and Biden deeming it as unprovoked and unjustified. But for now, they've adopted a wait-and-watch policy, with Biden saying he will decide the next step with the allies.
Colleagues, a few moments ago, I spoke to President Biden, who asked me to convey in the strongest possible terms his and our steadfast support for Ukraine. The United States and our allies and partners will continue to respond to Russia's actions with unity, with clarity, and with conviction. We're here for one reason and one reason only: to ask Russia to stop, return to your borders, send your troops and your tanks and your planes back to their barracks and hangars.
Ukrainians speaking to India today appealed to the West and NATO to offer support. Not words, but military support to help them fight Russia.
Explosions are being heard in Kyiv, but according to official data, these were explosions on a military storage around Kyiv and approximately 100 kilometers from Kyiv. We do not exactly what were the consequences of these explosions.
It is, however, a complete improbability that any country will offer military support, including the United States, which could consider diplomatic isolation or the strictest sanctions.
And I think it seems like they're evaluating their options. It also seems like everything is on the table, which means essentially all sanctions, full scale of sanctions on the table, which also includes SWIFT. But as far as I know, as far as I've been told by senior State Department officials over here in the U.S., it looks very highly unlikely that the U.S. will put boots on the ground. I think they will continue to work with their allies. I mean, there's a G7 meeting that's going to be that President Biden is going to attend tomorrow. He's going to sort of spearhead that meeting tomorrow. And after that, I think we'll probably see more sanctions coming in tomorrow. I really do not think that there will be any sort of boots on the ground or military engagement with the Ukraine forces.
Most countries are following the sanctions route against Russia.
We are facing an unprecedented act of aggression by the Russian leadership against a sovereign, independent country. Russia's target is not only Donbass. The target is not only Ukraine. The target is the stability in Europe and the whole of the international peace order. And we will hold President Putin accountable for that. Later today, we will present a package of massive and targeted sanctions to European leaders for approval. With this package, we will target strategic sectors of the Russian economy by blocking their access to technologies and markets that are key for Russia. We will weaken Russia's economic base and its capacity to modernize.
Australia, meanwhile, has announced visa priority for Ukrainians a day after extending sanctions on Russia. With Gaurav Sawant in Mariupol, Bureau Report, India Today.
And India Today has accessed images of Indian students in Kharkiv. This is the Kharkiv National Medical College, where all Indian students have gathered together in the basement of the university building, in the basement of the hostel. Such is the fear. Remember, Kharkiv was also targeted, like Mariupol, from where we are reporting. Kharkiv at the other end of the eastern border of Ukraine. Kharkiv was also targeted relentlessly by Russian artillery, and the students were in hiding. The students actually went to the basement. Look at these images. Students hiding in the basement, protecting themselves from the missiles and the artillery attack that came their way. The students are very keen to head back to India. What would the route be? The aircraft that was coming to take some of the Indians back. Remember, one aircraft successfully had taken Indians back a couple of days ago on the 22nd. The aircraft that was coming in had to turn back midway after Ukraine closed its airspace because of military operations. Now what is being talked about is at a suitable time, when the environment is safer. As of now, Indian students and all Indians in Ukraine have been asked to stay put where they are. And when it is safe, they could use the nearest land border, get to the nearest country that they can. There are Indian embassy officials and Indian officials who speak Russian language. That's what Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla said just a short while back. Russian-speaking officials are being sent to these various border points, border checkpoints, so that they can assist Indians in Ukraine to exit safely to those countries sharing a border with Ukraine when the situation is better for them to move out. As of now, there is apprehension of artillery shells and missiles and rockets and Grad rockets that were going off, flying in any direction. So as of now, they've been advised to stay put. The embassy will tell them when it's safer for them to move out, move to the land border, move to a safer country, and from there, then fly back to India. We bring you this report.
A nation under attack.
Серег, что там? Порядок?
Martial law in force.
Toyota, but we're looking for models.
Military reserves called to duty. Civilians told to take up arms. As Ukraine puts a fight against invading Russia, uncertainty clouds millions of civilians in the country. They include roughly 20,000 Indian nationals, mostly students.
હવે બધા અમે અહીંયા ફસાઈ ગયા છે. બધા એરપોર્ટ બંધ થઈ ગયા. કીવ જે મેઇન ઇન્ટરનેશનલ એરપોર્ટ હતું ત્યાં રશિયન આર્મી આવી ગઈ છે. અમે ક્યાંય જઈ જ નહીં શકતા. હવે અમારા જોડે કોઈ રસ્તો નહીં. ઇન્ડિયન એમ્બેસી બી એમ કે વેટ કરો. અહીંયા મોલ બી બધા ખાલી થઈ રહ્યા. એટીએમમાં પૈસા બી બધા ખાલી થઈ રહ્યા. જો ઇલેક્ટ્રિસિટી ઇન્ટરનેટ ને બધું બંધ કરી દીધું તો અમે શું કરીશું? અમે બધા સ્ટક છીએ અહીંયા.
With Ukraine closing its airspace for civilian flights, the task of getting Indians out has got tougher. A special Air India flight, which was to bring back around 250 Indians, was on the way to Kyiv when the Ukrainian airspace was closed. The flight returned to Delhi via Iranian airspace, dashing the hopes of parents waiting for their children to return.
We are in very critical condition, as we are very eager what happens there in Ukraine and there to the students, including my son, Mahaganapati, and all students. Actually, the parents are panic regarding this. And they are trying to come back to India, but flights are not available as the strength of the students. So that is the difficulty. If the war goes on like this, and the condition will become very terrible, I think.
The Indian embassy in Ukraine has issued a fresh advisory for nationals stuck in that country. The embassy has said alternative arrangements are being made as a schedule of special flights stand cancelled. The embassy further added that it will release information as soon as new arrangements to evacuate are made. The mission has also urged Indians to carry passports and necessary documents with them at all times. In view of the prevailing situation in Ukraine, a control room is being set up in Delhi to provide information and assistance for Indian nationals.
वैसे सरकार ने पहले भी एडवाइजरी जारी की थी और साथ ही उनको बाहर निकालने की व्यवस्था सरकार ने कुछ की है, प्लेन्स वगैरह भेजे गए हैं, लेकिन वहाँ की ऐसी स्थिति है कि अब शायद जहाँ तक मुझे जानकारी है कि अभी प्लेन लैंड नहीं कर पा रहा है, लेकिन उसको लेकर सरकार चिंतित है और जो भी एफर्ट संभव था हमारी सरकार ने किया है और आगे भी जो एफर्ट्स होंगे अपने भारतवासियों को बचाने के लिए हम लोग करेंगे.
Indian Air Force is also on standby for evacuation from Ukraine if airspace opens and government requires evacuation of Indian nationals. In an exclusive conversation with India Today, Indian Air Force officials said that they are ready to undertake any task which is assigned by the government of India. With Geeta Mohan and Shiv Arur in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
The Russian invasion of Ukraine has sent the world market in tailspin. Markets virtually across the world crashed. Of course, oil prices have shot up, gas prices have shot up, the dollar is up, gold prices are up. Our business bureau brings us this report.
The declaration of war by Russia against Ukraine has sent global markets in a complete meltdown. Global stocks in US yields dipped. Gold, dollar, crude oil prices shot up. Back home in India, it's raining red in the markets. The Indian markets have gone down as investors seem to be weighing in Russian invasion in Ukraine. As of 9:54 a.m., the benchmark index in India, the Sensex, tanked 1,936 points, 3.38% down to 55,296 levels. The broader index Nifty tanked 572 points, almost 3.35% to 16,491 levels. At noon, the markets on Nifty slipped below the 16,600 mark, with the Sensex down almost 3% in the day's trading session. Finally, there was bloodshed in markets, with Sensex closing down 4.72% at 54,523 levels and Nifty closing down 4.78% at 16,248 levels. The price of crude jumped up $100 a barrel, touching the $104 per barrel mark for the first time since the year 2014. This now stokes fear of an inflationary response in India, which is an oil importing nation. Not just that, it becomes a worrying situation for the US Fed Reserve and the central banks who have sought to contain strong price pressures. This would impact central banks globally to bring forth their tightening cycles and perhaps hike rates aggressively to contain the risk of inflation. This crisis may perhaps also lead to a larger scale invasion of Ukraine. Amidst this particular fear, there are chances of the USA and European nations getting involved militarily that will have negative consequences on the global economy. The growing concern has pushed the global markets into a corrective drive. A 20% decline from the Nasdaq peak seems to be an indication of fears of the Russia-Ukraine crisis deepening. Gold, flirting at 1,113 thereabout US dollars, seems to be another reflection of the ongoing crisis. Bitcoin, Ether, plummet. Bitcoin fell as much as 8.5% to 34,337 US dollars. Ether declined close to 12% to 2,301 thereabout dollars. XRP, Cardano, Solana slipped as well. Cryptocurrency too could not hold fort amidst the crisis, with reports suggesting prices plummeting further in the short term. In New Delhi, Chaiti Narula for India Today.